After a surprising win by the Miami Heat in Game 1, most figured the Milwaukee Bucks would reassert their dominance and even the series at one game apiece. However, while the advantage the Heat have in three-point shooting wasn't needed to beat the Bucks in the first game, we saw some fireworks rain down last night, allowing the Heat to win this going away. Wait, they didn't win by 10? The refs did what now? And the game ended up going right down to the wire, giving us all memories we will never forget. Let's just focus on the last 5 minutes of the game because it encapsulated everything that went on for the first 43. With Jimmy Butler driving and collapsing the defense, the Bucks' first priority is stopping the shot at the basket. This happens often with them, where two players end up helping, and that leaves Kelly Olynyk wide open to double their lead. The Bucks were outscored by 10 three-pointers last night, and it's precisely what I've been warning about for several seasons. It rears its ugly head on the Spain pick and roll as Tyler Hero backscreens the ball screener's man Eric Bledsoe. Zero communication between Bledsoe and Giannis, who should be scramming Bledsoe out of there to guard Crowder. Instead, it's an easy kick to a very good catch-and-shoot shooter. The Bucks love to sink in the lane one pass away and be in early help position, but you simply can't do that against a good shooting team like the Heat. If a shooter has this many feet of space on the catch like this, it's a wide open shot. Now, I don't mind that they've enabled Brook Lopez to basically zone the paint the whole time, but if you're running a pick and roll for the best shooter on the planet, not named Curry, this is comical in its openness. Up until this point, Bledsoe had played well, but it's the pressure-filled crunch time where he struggled in the past. When you run this kind of pick and roll, the guy the ball handler is supposed to be checking is Butler. He decides where you pass to. Butler plays this perfectly, tagging Giannis and then intercepting this in the flat like a linebacker. Out-of-timeout plays are crucial in a playoff series, and this one from Spoelstra was a beauty. Just keep your eye on Butler as he casually jogs under the hoop, making it look like he'll just continue to the top of the key, but the second Bam Adebayo gets the post entry, it's a backdoor cut and 2 free throws. They've got Giannis playing like a power forward from 1990 again, first setting a back screen, then the pin down on the weak side for Hill. Getting it to him is the third option here, and Butler does a nice job to keep his chest open, hands up, and Giannis gives it a ride but just can't quite get the roll. Watch Bledsoe again go under a ball screen for Dragic. This must be the game plan because he did it earlier in the game and got burned twice. Can you hear me shaking my head? But Dragic ignores the opening for the three and tries his patented bank shot floater but can't get it to go down. This triggers a fast break and you can't go to the hole weak, Chris Middleton. Credit to Bam for his freakishly long arms. He is able to keep his distance yet block it with the left arm. Wow. I like Middleton on Dragic, a bigger and longer defender that can bother him, and while he doesn't really extend that chicken wing out too far, it's enough for the offensive foul call and a costly turnover that negated the jumper. The Bucks then run a slip screen by Giannis, who then executes a dribble handoff to the weak side. Watch how Hero is all over this help while Bam covers for him on the weak side. Perfect coaching preparation. Bledsoe should have given it to Hill open in the corner, but instead tosses up this floater. No contact from the defense, but it did enable Lopez to get positioned on the helping Bam. On this shot, Dragic bounces off of him while Adebayo plays good defense. It was strange there wasn't the call, but you gotta be tough under the boards. While the result was a wide open 3 for Hero, this isn't really the way you want to do it, but it leads to a call underneath. And you know what? While the Lopez foul was 50-50, it was Middleton who was grabbing Adebayo's arm with both hands, so they were lucky Middleton didn't get his 6th foul here. This is basically the same play as that Duncan Robinson wide open 3 I showed you, but Hero turns it into an open baseline jumper. Doesn't hit it, and it felt like Giannis was tired of not having a big enough impact on this game down the stretch and decided to take on 2 guys to the hole, kicking and Euroing his way to an and one. Unclear how he got this to go in, and his free throws till this point had been stellar, a welcome sign after the debacle in Game 1. It was the Heat's turn to look disorganized. They couldn't get into any mode of attack, no one wanted to shoot it, and it was on Bam to create something at the shot clock buzzer. He's got a nice shot, and I feel like this was the crucial shot of the game, giving the Heat a huge 6-point lead they were lucky to hang on to. Excellent rotation by the Heat defense to cover for the middle penetration by Bledsoe, but an even better backdoor cut by Giannis and Lopez pass that gets into the rim. Despite being 9 for 11 from the free throw line, the Heat are counting on his funky mechanics to betray him in the intense moments of a crucial playoff game. And sure enough, he misses the first one short and the second one long. While you want to wind the clock down and milk this 6-point lead, you still want to get a good shot. Why Jimmy gave up the ball here and why Crowder shot this contested three, I have no idea. But here's where it all fell off the rails for Mike Budenholzer. There's an official timeout to review this play and see who hit it out of bounds. It's a long timeout, plenty of time to draw up a play, but Budenholzer gets all out of sorts, couldn't communicate the play in time, they end up getting a delay of game warning because they wouldn't come out of the huddle, and after that, he had to burn another timeout anyway. This kind of confusion can really influence the team's play on the court and really shouldn't ever happen. That said, they run a good play as Giannis slips the ball screen, slips the pin down, but why is Butler even considering switching this? It leaves Giannis all alone for the dunk. I mean, now can you hear me shaking my head? But here's where it gets crazy. The Bucks press, the Heat don't call one of their 2 timeouts to get organized and advance it to half court. They're caught with their pants down, nobody up court comes back to give Jimmy an outlet, Dragic does a big no-no and stands under the basket, and then Jimmy commits the biggest sin of them all. You never throw this pass back under your own basket. Never, ever, ever. I don't care that George Hill was out of bounds while touching the ball and it should have been side out for the Heat. The second Butler was in trouble, just call timeout. Heck, even Spoelstra could have called a timeout and didn't. What a mess. Sheesh. And they're lucky this wasn't an and one. Then, the Heat run this ridiculous out-of-bounds play, stretching Crowder and Olynyk to the backcourt corners. I get it, they wanted space, but then to have to resort to tossing it up and hoping for the best, especially when you're eliminating 2 potential receivers for the ball on purpose? Jimmy chokes the first one, setting us up for the craziest ending we've seen in a while. First off, when you're up by 3 with under 8 seconds left, take the foul. Don't let them get a game-tying 3-pointer. They had a great opportunity to foul Korver with his back to the basket, but don't. Instead, Middleton gets free for a shot, and the referees became so involved in these last 2 plays, I had to bring Ronnie Nunn in to explain what happened. Ronnie was an NBA ref for 19 years, head of officials for 5, and director of development for 3 more. So Ronnie, we need your help here because this shot was interesting. We have a 3-pointer attempted by Middleton. We have a defense or an attempt on a defense by Goran Dragic. What do you see here, and do you agree with the call?
You know, I agree with the call, and it's a tough call, but I agree with it. And as a referee, let's put on our referee glasses or caps. When a defensive player goes towards a shooter, that's when he's suspect and subject to being called a foul, called a foul against him. And part of that is the timing and the ability for the player to come down legally and to regain a legal position on the floor. So in this case, what's pretty unusual is that after you look at the defensive player, Dragic, you also know that Middleton is very, very vertical, which doesn't make a difference even if he had come forward some, as long as the defender is coming at him. So he actually goes so vertical, it's foolish for Dragic to try to get more of this defensive opportunity on this play because he actually fouls him. And I think one of the 3 clips we're showing shows Dragic coming forward. But the defender is foolish to come further in and then demonstrate his arms are up and he's really good. But it's his body that takes him into a fouling situation.
So the interesting thing here is people want to bring up that there's a notion of, you're already established, like if you want to take a charge and you're there and there's all that contact from the offensive player, then you're allowed to do that. But there's also the component of you have to let a shooter land and give him landing space. So wouldn't you think that at the very least he's not giving him space to land?
Yeah, he's definitely not giving him space to land. And there's also contact on him prior to the release because he's come into the verticality space. And when I talk space, we're thinking about what the Europeans have always called cylinder, the cylinder of a player. And he's within the player's cylinder. So it's a foul that is occurring on the way up, and the same foul occurs on the way down. I mean, Middleton, I don't even believe tries to fake it. I mean, he's just trying to make the shot.
So easy, a straightforward call, and they got the free throws. So then we come down with Jimmy Butler in the corner on the last play of the game, and he's desperately trying to get a shot off in a tie game to perhaps win it. So we see Giannis, coming over as a help defender. We have a lot of components here because A, we have to decide if there's contact. B, we have to decide if the contact happened before the buzzer went off, and if the shot got off before the buzzer. So are there any other components I'm missing here?
Well, certainly the ball gets off prior to going to zeros. Now, here's the issue: the lead official who's on that play on the baseline has got two players to contend with. Very difficult. And this is a good play that the official Mark Davis in the trail is viewing Antetokounmpo, because it's very hard to get both guys. And plus, Antetokounmpo's hand is on the shooter, and it's visible to Davis, the trail official. And he can see that hand go on. Now, you're doing something wrong already by putting a hand on an airborne shooter, different than putting a hand on an airborne rebounder, because now we want to see if he dislodges him some way to get a rebound. But on a shooter, you really want to show the referee that my hands are not on it, my body's not on it. And the fact that he touches him, the review tells us that if he doesn't touch him, he's going to go through more. So he's using the shooter as a way to stop himself, and it really comes out to a foul. I think these two plays are really, really difficult. Really, really difficult.
Fair enough. I would kind of disagree. I feel like the contact was made, way after the ball was released. Now, we've argued this before about how referees swallow their whistle in the last minute or so. And here's your evidence for the fact that it's not the case, which is, great to see that you have some verification there. But I just have to think that if you're weighing the fact of what's going on here and the fact that this is the game, this is for the game, I just don't know how that contact really merits enough to blow the whistle here. Butler was able to get the shot off clean. I guess in the review, they did make sure he did touch him with 0.1 seconds on the clock. So, Ronnie, if the clock strikes zero, the red light lights up, and Giannis does not give him any room to land, and he lands on his feet, and he almost turns his ankle, that is a newer concept that it's still not a foul because the buzzer sounded. Is that correct?
Yes, buzzer sounded and zeros. Now, let's go back to this play. When the foul is called, it is at 0.1. So the game is still going on because the clock has stopped, and now we're finishing the shooter for completing his shot and landing legally. Well, he can't land legally, so to speak, because there's been a foul. And so even though it came at zero after, meaning at 0.1 it really ended, we can now put 0.1 on the clock and finish this game, because even though he landed at zero, he was fouled at 0.1. And that's where the action stops for the clock. But that is not where the action stops if a foul, if the finishing of the play did not complete itself.
Fair enough. Well, again, I can't quite understand why this one merited the call, because, to me, he got the shot off, and I understand that there is contact and is a shooter. And perhaps in the first quarter, that's an easy call to make, no problem. But I don't know. It's a little head scratching, especially in conjunction with what they had just called before. So you have to wonder what the Bucks are feeling right now. But it's a little bit a moot point as well, because the Heat did play much better than the Bucks anyway and deserve to win. So, Ronnie, thanks so much for joining us and breaking this down. I hope it gives some clarity to some people, maybe the Bucks fans who are upset, or the Heat fans were just as upset on the other play too. So thanks for coming in and joining us. I'm sure we'll see you pretty soon with another call.
Very good, and thank you, Coach Nick. They were both tough calls, and I can see some people passing on this second one, not so much the first. But in all fairness to the officiating crew, and particularly to Mark Davis in his case, he does get the play right, because you give yourself a vulnerable situation when you're putting your hand on a shooter that is airborne. And like I said, the fact that he didn't go through further was the body of the player actually held up Antetokounmpo from coming through on the landing, especially. That's my view.
For sure. Well, thanks for joining us again. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? You in, Ronnie?
I'm in, Coach. Pleasure to be with you and to go through these things.